I, 20F, found my boyfriend, 19M, wearing my clothes. I caught my boyfriend wearing my clothes and I don't know what to do. Some context: me and my boyfriend have been dating for 3 years. He's the love of my life and I wouldn't want to spend my time with anyone else. I met my boyfriend when we were both in high school. It was both our first relationship, so we were quite nervous about dating. We both left the same year. I was 18 and graduating and him 17 and dropping out. I encouraged him to stay, but he decided against it and started working construction for his father. As fast as he could. He's always been quite masculine. Buzzcut, mustache and refusal to do anything feminine. At first I thought he was putting on a fact, but after meeting his hardcore English dad I realized he was being honest. Over the years I've tried to show him that gender roles really don't matter that much, and it has succeeded to some degree, but he was still quite stereotypically masculine. I work at a bakery and some of our staff quit, so I've been working a lot recently. At first it did cause some fights, but that was mainly because we worked opposite shifts, so for almost a month we rarely saw each other, but we realized that nothing could be done, so we compromised by FaceTiming and calling each other any time we could. On Friday I was working and it was his day off. Halfway into my shift my boss offered to take over so I could get some rest. Usually I would decline, but I was so exhausted I decided to take her up on the offer and just go home. When I was driving home I tried to call him 3 times but he didn't answer. This worried me a little, but I just decided to ignore it. Usually when I get home I'll call on him and he runs up and kisses me. It's a silly tradition but we like it, but I wanted to surprise him so I kept quiet. I crept around our apartment looking for him and I realized he was in our room. I slowly walked over to our room and when I opened it I saw him standing in front of our mirror, wearing one of my sundresses. I was surprised at first and a little confused. He had never shown an interest in females' clothing until now, so I was just shocked. After a couple seconds he turned round and saw me and his face could only be described as sheer terror. I thought he'd overreact and try and explain himself, but I saw his breathing quicken and he started crying. I quickly ran over to him, but he backed away and just slid against the wall onto the floor. In the 4 years I've knew him he had never cried before. I was at his mother's funeral with him and not once did he cry. As he was on the floor I tried comforting him, but he stopped me every time, and after a couple minutes I left the room to give him some space. Almost an hour later he came out the room, now wearing his own clothes. He had a suitcase with him. I quickly asked why, but he just said he was leaving. I asked and begged him to stay and talk, but he just left. After he left I tried calling and texting him, but the phone went straight to voicemail, which either means it's out of charge or he's blocked me. I called his father, but he just got annoyed and said that my boyfriend is a grown man and to give him space. It's been 2 days and I've still not heard from him. I thinks he's staying with his father, and for the record I wouldn't mind if he wore feminine clothes. Should I go to his father's house and confront him? TL. Doctor, I caught my boyfriend wearing my dress and now he left and won't speak to me. Edit. By confront, I don't mean drive over and yell at him. I just mean go to his father's house and ask to speak to him. Poor choice of words on my front. This is a time solution. Don't force it and let him try to work it out on his own. Reality is that it might be the end of the relationship if he can't come to terms. You saw a side of him he never wanted shown. Odds are how he has been raised had him compartmentalize sides of himself that didn't conform to his dad's view of what men are. You caught him during his venting time and that possibly tainted the relationship. You did great in trying to support him, but you're competing with trauma, and people with trauma see the world in a skewed way until they learn to accept aspects of themselves. I have years of therapy to show for all my gains, and that started with me understanding that my head wasn't on right and I was miserable. I hope it works out. You seem like a wonderful girlfriend, and if he opens up you could be someone incredible to help him work past being the man he was expected to be and become the person they want to be. Edit. Whoa. Didn't expect this to resonate with so many. Thank you to everyone that gave me awards. You are all amazing and glad you all came out to support Op. There's a lot of good advice here, but I think one thing that should be reiterated is this. Do not go to his father's house to confront him. This is not a discussion you should have with him when there's the possibility of other people hearing him. This is something he has to come to terms with on his own. And being within proximity to a family member is not going to help at all. Edit. Since Op edited the post to clarify herself. Still, I don't think this discussion should happen at his house at all. This discussion should happen in private, when he's ready to talk to you. Your boyfriend is very afraid to show his feminine side. In order to compensate for this, he seems to express it significantly when he is alone. The reason he left and hasn't talked to you is because he is incredibly ashamed. He has never shown anybody this side of him. And now you've found out. Don't do anything crazy. Don't go to his house. You can text him and let him know that you're always there for him and love him. But don't push him too much. He will feel like he's under pressure and stressed if you force him to talk to you. It's a very difficult situation for you. Because you're completely fine and he doesn't realize it. Just don't mention it to him for now.
Good luck.
I think confront is the wrong word. How about going over with a treat and ask him to go for a walk? Tell him you miss him. That gets the point across without having to force him to discuss something he's not ready to discuss. Give him some time before contacting him again. He probably has some stuff to figure out on his own already. Just wait a while and see if he reaches out. He needs to process his thoughts and assess what he wants to do. Don't try and force anything. Just let him be for a bit. In saying that, don't wait forever, as no one's worth your own happiness. You want to confront a man about wearing women's clothing in front of his father? This sounds like someone who has been raised with incredibly old-school sense of masculinity. Look at his dad and how he acted before. Him liking cross-dressing is probably incredibly vulnerable for him and would be horrifically embarrassing to be caught with, without any knowledge. Is he overreacting? Yeah, he's probably embarrassed and horrified. But is the answer here, when you can, have an open and honest discussion with the person you love and try your best to see from their perspective? Also, yes. It sounds like your partner has been raised with a very strictly enforced idea of gender roles and what isn't acceptable. Plus, he works in the construction industry, which has been traditionally male-dominated, which has likely reinforced some of what he's learned at home. You caught them in a very vulnerable situation and they're clearly not ready to deal with that. Despite you being fairly open, accepting of things not needing to be strictly gendered. I think they need space so they can process what happened and calm down. As they're probably scared and anxious AFRN. Maybe message to reassure them it's okay. That you're not going to tell friends, family. And suggest meeting up in a public, neutral space when they feel ready to talk. Best wishes to you both. Hope you get to talk and figure things out. I would give him some time. Maybe write him a letter on how you feel about it. Then keep it for when you guys do talk. It's a big embarrassment for him obviously, and preemptively forcing him to speak about it will most likely result in him going on the defense. If he hasn't spoken to you within 2 weeks, I would probably start preparing to need to move on. I'm sure he will reach out when he has processed all of this. Just send one message telling him you love him and are there for him whenever he wants to talk. Then back away. Give him space. And let him come to you when he feels ready. Then you can talk it through and hopefully continue with the relationship if that's what you both want. I'm sure everything will be fine. Just text him and say, without detail, that everything is cool and you're on board with everything you saw. It sounds like he's grappling with his internal feminine urges, which are totally normal and okay. Gender is a social construct, and the fact that he's been raised to behave hyper-masculine. This is not a you problem. But you are both at an age where you'll likely be going through a lot of self-discovery. He's working through that, and unfortunately, he ran back to what is normal and comfortable for him instead of staying with you where he can be himself. It's really great that you're a supportive, non-judgmental partner. Give him time. Hopefully he'll come around. You didn't do anything wrong. But he's likely feeling overwhelming shame right now related to his upbringing. Hopefully you can talk about things once he's feeling less overwhelmed. Leave him alone. He got caught in a huge lie for him. It's embarrassing and now someone else knows his secret. He doesn't know how to ever face you again, but you need to let him come to you when he is ready. It's only been 2 days. I understand how stressful, for lack of a better description, it may seem. He's probably ashamed and is overthinking his own situation and thinking that your perception of him has changed. From my 28M experiences, SOs tend to need anywhere from 3 days to 2 weeks to recover from any shocks, arguments, displeasure, fights, or any boundary crossing. Just let him know how you truly feel about him, and that it doesn't change how you view him as a person. Maybe even throw in that you think it's kinda hot and kinky for extra comfort. He left, with a suitcase full of your clothes. You wear the same size clothes? Oh man, this is like my fantasy. If I caught my BF doing this, I wouldn't be able to keep my hands off him, ha ha ha. Speaking with self-experience, I wear women's socks. Should he come to you and be open about himself? Don't be shy, and don't tell him that anything is excessive. It will only cause him to clam up again. Work your way slowly into compromises about the way he dresses in private. Almost assuredly he will never do so in public. Not the greatest advice, but an angle that I'm familiar with. If you're blocked, you can 67 his number and it'll go through as an unknown number. Leave a voicemail if he doesn't answer. That's it. Don't do anything more. Tell him you love him for him. That you don't care about what you saw. Reassure him that he has a safe space with you and that if he feels comfortable with it, you would like to talk in person and figure things out. Then let him decide what he wants to do. Don't call him again. Don't do anything.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.